Hey everybody, welcome back. We're here in Anguilla. We're going to take a look at the new Nvidia driver today, 577.00. And I'm also going to tell you what I think is the most important change by far in Sim Update 3, which is coming up that I haven't heard anybody talk about. So we'll get into that here in a little bit. We're in the Dakota from Coronado today, which is my new favorite airplane. Let's go rotating beacon on. We'll go mixtures and props full forward. And you do have to physically move the mixture after you do that in this plane for whatever reason. Mixtures and props full forward. We'll go fuel pump on. We'll go, let's close that here. Let's prime the engine. That doesn't do anything because the priming is way too fast. All right, we'll go fuel pump on the left tank. So I want to burn off that tank first. We'll master and battery switches on. Crack the throttle, toes on the brakes. Mags to both. It won't go to start with the Honeycomb Bravo for whatever reason. You have to do it like that. And we managed to turn it over. Let's go avionics on here and get my head position set here a little bit better. Let's go transponder. We'll just go squawk altitude. I have live traffic on. I've got airport vehicles on. You can tell because the truck is going down the middle of the runway. Turn the fuel pump off. Let's release the parking brake and let's come over here. We'll get this stuff all going here. So I almost didn't do this, but then I kind of decided this video could do double duty for the Sim Update 3, kind of a little bit of a preview, because I think there's a huge change that that's coming our way in the controls. And let's check the brakes. Brakes are working. Leave the mixture for taxi. I've got the settings from my settings video from the other day. Pretty much everything on ultra with a few things turned down. Number one being texture resolution. TLED's at 150, OLED's at 100. I don't have any of the mods going because I don't want to mess with sim performance. So I don't have auto FPS going, etc. I do have the frame gen mod going. Go mixtures and props full forward. Nav and strobe lights coming on. We'll go fuel pump on. That plane just disappeared, which is of course incredibly realistic. We're not going to do a run up because it's late and we got to get flying here if we're going to do anything. You can see in the bottom there on the right, my GPU memory is fantastic. Main thread is fantastic. I'm really enjoying the Dakota, and I think they've done a fantastic job, Coronado, not only with the, I mean, you expect a pretty airplane, you know, a well-modeled, a nice visual on the airplane, but I really think the flight model for this plane is fantastic. I really think they've done a good job. And that's not to say that I don't have as much experience with other Coronado airplanes that maybe some other people do, and people tend to have some strong feelings about them. I mean, the ground handling is a little bit jittery, shall we say. Final approach course looking clear. Just want to get a little bit more runway here, and we'll get on center line. And heading indicator checks with the runway number. Mixtures and props full forward. Fuel pump is on. Flaps are set. Takeoff power is coming in. Takeoff power is set. Engine instruments are in the green. Airspeed is alive. A lot of people like to rotate it like 55 or 60 knots in this airplane. It's nonsense. Wait till you want an airplane that's ready to fly. Don't drag an airplane into the air that's not interested in flying yet. I see people do that all the time in real life and sim life. So we'll pitch down here a little bit. And unlike a lot of constant speed propeller airplanes, they recommend climbing in this thing at prop and manifold pressure full forward. One of the things I've noticed about the airplane is that you do have to use rudder for coordinated turns, and I absolutely love that. There's 1,000 feet AGL. Let's turn our fuel pump off. Fuel pressure is looking good. That's not going to be a good screenshot, but I like it anyway. Whoopsie daisy, talk about not good. All right, let's bring manifold pressure back to 23. A little bit tricky with this plane because 2400 RPM is redline, but that's what you want it at. And this plane will matriculate right along. I mean, 130, 135 knots indicated for a fixed gear airplane. It's quite nice. And I'm starting to roll in some trim now, and this is the change in Sim Update 3 I'm talking about. So there is a distinct lag between when you make the physical input with your controls and when that input, you know, takes place in the airplane in the sim. And that's what I was just looking at. And boy, this is a beautiful night to fly. And that's so they've recalibrated all that in Sim Update 3. And I haven't heard anybody talk about it. And like, you know, there's the downloading of scenery, and you can download the entire sim apparently. I'm not in Sim Update 3 yet, I say. You know, and there's talk about the controller profiles and being able to save profiles and you know, move profiles and send profiles and all this stuff with the controller profiles and the reorganization of how the profiles are presented, which they say is going to make it less confusing, which I don't necessarily think it will, because all it's going to do, in my opinion, all it's going to do is we just have a new system to learn now, right? So it's like, yes, the system that they had initially for Flight Sim 24, yes, was confusing. Sorry, I'm trying to take a picture here. But so was the one for Flight Sim 2020. You just have to learn it, right? And which is why I didn't understand initially why they decided to completely revamp it when there was really, in my opinion, no benefit to doing so. And all it meant was that now people are going to have a new system to have to learn. Well, that's, you know, essentially the same thing that we're going to have to do now after 8, 9 months, 10 months, whatever. And that we've, you know, some of us anyway, but a lot of us have now learned the new system. and understand how it works, and I think it works actually pretty well. There's a notch of flaps. Fuel pump is on. So I think the new system is, I do actually like it now that I understand it, but now they're revamping the entire thing again, and all that's going to mean is we're going to have to learn a new system. So I'm not, I don't know. Maybe it will turn out to be, good for people who didn't come to Flight Sim 2024 initially. They may now, come to a sim that has a better, setup for configuring controllers. We'll see. But the issue with input lag, and it's less of an issue to me with ailerons, rudder, etc. It's a bit more of it, because, and the reason I say that is because unless you're flying like an F-16 or the extra 300 or something like that, an airplane with pretty precise, where precise control is the point. If you're flying aerobatics, obviously. If you're flying fighter type stuff, the point is the extreme controllability of the airplane, so to speak. Elevator is a different story, because elevator, you really need you really need instantaneous input for the elevator in terms of landing. It makes it very difficult. I think it may sound strange to say, but I think rudder and yoke inputs, or aileron inputs rather, are perhaps a little bit more, you can get away with, not the super instantaneous input. Not that it's ideal by any stretch of the imagination, but to me, pitch control is the one that's really, really important for, to have fine-tuned control, instantaneous control of, the elevator trim and elevator input for landing. And so I am very, very glad that I'm flying here right now, because it's so beautiful. But I'm very, very glad to see that they are that they're dealing with that. And I'm pretty tempted now to join the beta and see what that's all about. Now, fuel pump is on, flaps are set. Airspeed is too fast, but that's all right. I'm not necessarily worried about getting slowed down. So this airplane, and this driver's been flawless, by the way. I mean, I haven't seen any issues. If we're gonna see any issues, you might see it coming up right here as we get in towards Princess Juliana here. But I can see the lag in the yoke as I'm, moving my yoke in real life. So mixtures and props full forward, fuel pumps are on, flaps are set, seatbelts are secure, gear is down and welded. Pilot is doing S-turns on final, out of sheer incompetence. So I'm really strongly considering joining SimUpdate 3 beta now, which is sort of cheesy, because I can't make any contribution anyway, because I've been thrown out of the official forums for, I was gonna say lewd and lascivious behavior, but I think I just made that second word up, by the way. But it wasn't lewd behavior. I don't engage in lewd behavior. But so we're looking for 75 over the fence here, and I just think this flight model is wonderful. I really think that put a little bit more power out here and keep that nose up. It's gonna help bleed off some speed. There's 75 over the fence, the actual fence, not the proverbial fence. I really think that that Coronado's done a wonderful job with this airplane, which is going to prevent me from being able to blame it for my landing if I screw this up. What's that all about?
That's how you land an aircraft.
Yeah, it certainly is. All right, fuel pump's on. Check my trim here. Trim is good. Fuel pump is on. Flaps we can get rid of here. That's the other weird thing, is like flap changes are instantaneous. All right, heading indicator checks with the runway number. Takeoff power is coming in. All right. There's 75. But I really think they've done a lovely job with this airplane, which is pretty cool because I've been waiting for a good Dakota. I've been waiting for any Dakota, frankly, in a flight simulator for a very long time. For those of you who remember the Dream Fleet Dakota, do you guys remember that? That was a great airplane. It was a freeware plane made by the actual owner of that plane. How beautiful is this? There's 1,000 feet AGL. We'll turn the fuel pump off. We'll check our fuel pressure. Fuel pressure's looking good. Let's not let that nose get up too much here. This sim is looking astonishing. And there's 1,500 feet. And but I mean, I'm sure anybody, you know, who's watched any of my videos, you've seen and heard me go on and on about trimming and how it takes 1.5 years to trim, and it's really annoying. And that's true. But they have apparently addressed that in Sim Update 3. Let's go fuel pump on, and let's pray that I push this the right direction. I did, yay. Fuel pump coming off, fuel pressure is good. So that's what I'm really looking forward to in Sim Update 3. Gosh, what a gorgeous night to fly. You know, I think sometimes we have to give the ladies and gentlemen out of Sobel and Microsoft a little bit more credit than we do for creating this absolutely stunning simulator that they've made that we get to goof around in. I wonder what it must feel like to have recreated the world. You know, often wondered about that, like, particularly, you know, people who have worked, or people who have started companies from nothing and grown them into these massive companies. I often wonder if they ever, like, sit down on a Friday at like 7 o'clock when nobody else is around and like close their office door and just look around and go, holy crap. Like, what? Like, this is, you know, and just kind of, I wonder if they ever, I wonder if it ever, if that realization leaves them, or if the understanding of what they've accomplished leaves them. The company that I work for was started by 2 college students, and it's now $1 billion corporation. And they started it because everybody else in the industry stunk. And I just kind of wonder sometimes. I also wonder where my destination is. I just wonder sometimes if, like, people who have that experience are ever, like, if they ever lose the awe of what they've accomplished, you know what I mean? I guess that's maybe a sensible way of putting it. Anyway, I'm gonna be in awe of myself if I can find our airport here tonight. And this will be good too, because clouds are kind of one of those things that, and I've found that wispy clouds in particular can actually be even more can actually have more of a performance impact than like massive clouds. I've never landed this plane at St. Barts either. We might not find St. Barts at this rate. And this is one of the things you want to avoid doing is descending like I was. Ah, there we go. Alright. If we can find Sugarloaf. Is that Sugarloaf? It's kind of hard to see, like, with the spots on the windshield. And you'll also know, you'll also realize from this why there are no night landings at St. Barts. It ain't allowed. This is why. What I want to see, I don't think that's Sugarloaf right there, and I don't want to cheat and be a weirdo. So I'm my co-pilot looking too, but I don't think that's Sugarloaf. We got 2 notches or we got 3 notches here? Maybe it is. Trying to see if there is. Yeah, that is Sugarloaf. Okay, so there's an island in closer. See, just about my 11:30. There's another island in closer. So this is Sugarloaf. So you want to be fully configured at Sugarloaf. And it's gonna be a little bit of an adventure getting back to Anguila. But we're up for adventures in Flight Sim, right? Let's go fuel pump on. Should have done that already. So fuel pump's on. Mixture is rich. I'm not even. Yeah, I am. Alright, there's a. Let's bring in some trim here. Keeping the speed up a little bit, which is probably a bad idea. Ultimately, we'll go prop full forward now. So mixture and prop full forward. Fuel pump is on. Flaps are set. Seatbelts are secure. Gear is down and welded. I've noticed the FPS counter flipping back and forth between 60 and 30. It should be. Should be at 60 because I'm using frame gen, but and I got a little low there. But what I want to do now is get rid of a little of the energy that I have. Slow the airplane down a little bit, because once I drop the nose, we're going to gain airspeed pretty quickly. So I'm still a little bit low. Starting to see that 1-0. I'd rather be high and slow than high and fast here. Alright, feeling good, feeling good. Alright, power's all the way out. I let that go past Charlie.
That was close.
Yeah, you're telling me, buddy. You're telling me, buddy. That was a little bit. That technically should have been a go around because you're not supposed to go past Charlie. On, but I mean, the airplane was slow, and you know, go arounds are pretty easy. Alright. Go a notch of flaps. I'm just gonna go straight up to the end of the runway here. And we'll get out. Otherwise, we ain't getting home. There's not a whole lot of flying done at night in the Caribbean because there's outside of, you know, IFR professional ops, you know, commercial operations, because at night especially, or even at dusk, it can be very deceiving, especially in weather like we have right now. That was John Kennedy right there. What we were kind of facing, and you have to treat it. You really have to treat it like IFR flight. All right, there is heading indicator checks with the runway number. Fuel pump is on. Mixture and prop full forward. Flaps are set. Trim is good. And toes on the brakes. We'll do a short field takeoff here. Takeoff power is coming in. Takeoff power is set. Engine instruments are in the green. Release the brakes. Yeah, you're not doing any crosswind correction. What on earth is happening? Who knows? Who knows? Don't ask any questions. That little hotel, I want to stay there. Left turn to a heading of 060 on departure out of Anguila, out of St. Barts rather. How stunning is that? How stunning is that? Alright, so this... absolutely love the watercolor. Nose is down nicely, so we'll bring the flaps up. This is going to be pretty much IFR flight here. I mean, you would, let me put it to you this way: if you, in real life, you would be wise to treat this flight as IFR. You really would. I would not go off into this type of weather as a VFR only pilot. It is 50 feet below our cruise altitude. Bring the power back. 23 inches. Bring the prop back a little bit. You can see a little bit better now. Alright. No. Don't you go getting wise on me now. Alright. So I'm looking forward to the update. I'm not interested in all the downloading stuff. I'm quite happy not to have to. I was skeptical of it at first, but I also think that it, you know, obviously it's largely dependent on the kind of internet connection that you have. But I'm really looking forward to the control input changes. The other thing is, like, you keep trimming and trimming and trimming and trimming and nothing happens, and then all of a sudden all at once it just it becomes trimmed. But a little bit. That nose configuration reminds me a little bit more of like the more modern Arrows. But it's a beautiful airplane. It's a beautiful airplane, and very, very happy with my sim settings. This driver is very, very good. I mean, I'm generally not, I'm pretty much not limited by anything right now. You know, TLOD is 150, OLOD is 100. Sorry, my head tracker wigged out a little bit because my head went behind my microphone. Can't tell you how realistic this weather is, because this point of night or evening in this part of the world, it's weird to have clouds when the sun is down, because there isn't the energy for them, but there's so much heat and humidity here that that you'll even have, like, I mean, you'll have towering cumulonimbus clouds at like 5:30 in the morning, which is just bizarre. I mean, it usually takes, you know, a good 5 hours of direct sunlight to generate those. But in this part of the world, is you 5 o'clock in the morning, you wake up and there are these massive cumulus clouds. It's quite amazing, actually. But this part of the evening, when the sun has gone down. Now, first of all, there's always, and I don't quite know why it's exactly that height. There is almost always a layer of 1,800 foot ceilings around this part of the world, and you can see it right here. We're at, you know, 1,600, and you know, maybe it may be 2,000. You know, but I mean, no, I mean, it really right about 1,800, and that to me tells me how good. As we keep an eye on Grand Cass Airport, so we don't become a hood ornament if somebody's taking off here. But that tells me how good the weather model is, because it's just so accurate. But there's this graying dusk in Anguila. Well, this, you know, Anguilla, St. Martin. And it's just, it's so cool. And this is exactly what it looks like. Exactly what it looks like. I have to tell you, I genuinely enjoy this airplane. I really do. They've done a very nice job. No, we're not gonna get too. I just got an updraft right there. I had ice cream for dinner tonight. My wife's out of town. And so I'm allowed to make bad decisions. Not real bad, you know, I mean, like, ice cream for dinner in the grand scheme of bad decisions isn't really that bad. You know? I'm not getting like all wild and crazy or anything. But I do like me some ice cream. And I put this, I found this chocolate hard, like hard shell that you can like put over top of the ice cream. I found it in our pantry. I think a friend of ours left it here. And it's like totally bizarre because, first of all, so we want to make a left traffic pattern, right, for the airport. I've bugged the heading indicator of the landing runway, which is runway 11, so I know that the runway is like this. Traffic pattern altitude is always 1,000, not always, but generally speaking, 1,000 feet AGL for light aircraft. And what you want to do, so here, you know, sea level, the airport's at sea level basically. So what you want to do, traffic pattern altitude is 1,000. You want to overfly the midpoint of the runway 500 feet above traffic pattern altitude, which in this case would be 1,500 feet, actually 1,600 feet. And the reason why you do that is because you shouldn't expect traffic, obviously. There's a little bit of a stutter hesitation there. You don't expect traffic over top of an airport, obviously. That doesn't make any sense. And so you come over above traffic pattern altitude, and then you enter the left down. I mean, you can go out and come in on a 45, but which doesn't mean anything to you if you don't understand what I said. But you want to just, you know, come over the airport and then drop into a left downwind. I really should have lost a little more altitude there. And the way I know I'm in a downwind is that's my landing runway heading. It's bugged. And so I know that I'm on an outbound, so you can see I'm on not a perfect, but I'm on a downwind for my landing runway. So we're gonna go second notch of flaps. I should have really started turning in already, but I'm too high, so we'll extend our downwind a little bit. Have a little look here at sandy ground. I am like, I'm truly astonished at how realistic this looks. As somebody who's been here at this time of night, I mean, it just looks so realistic. And we get that bug on the left hash there, and let's get turning in, because always better to turn in too early rather than too late. Yeah, we're looking good. We got one red right there. That's not good at all. Let's get alright, and I don't, a lot of people go put a notch of flaps in like on short final. I don't like reconfiguring the airplane on short final. I really don't. I don't think it's a wise way to fly. So I've got all my flaps in. I know that I'm too white, too red, but my airspeed is a little bit lower than I want it to be in my, particularly for my descent rate, or vice versa. I guess you could look at it either way. But what I want is about 85 knots and 300 to 400 feet on the descent rate. I got 90 and 300, which is why I now have 4 weight. So bring some power out. I'll keep pulling that nose up a little bit. I'm not generating enough engine power right now to even get 2,300 RPM on the prop, so I can just push the prop forward and see. Now it's, I mean, now at 85 and negative 800 feet on the descent, clearly, my energy situation is a little bit better. So there's 80 and 400. A bit of trim. I gotta tell you how nicely they have modeled this airplane. They really have. A little bit more power out now. You saw me float over in St. Martin. A little bit fast over the fence. We'll come all the way out in the power now. A lot of people advocate, like they say, once you've got the runway made, just pull the power out. Depends on the airplane. Some airplanes do that better than others.
That, my friend, is how you land an aircraft.
That it is. That it is. I had a Cherokee 160 that loved doing that. If you lean the mixture now. When you had the runway made, let's say at 500 feet, or well, probably less than that, like maybe 300 feet, you just yank the power out, pull the power right to idle, and just watch your airspeed on the way down, and that airplane, it handled wonderfully like that. A little wheelie here onto the onto the taxi, onto the ramp here. It's a bit of an issue because of the this is a 2020 scenery. There's a little bit of a lip there as you come onto the ramp. You can see it right there, but my Cherokee 180 doesn't. You pull the power on that thing, the nose just drops, and it's. I mean, it may be okay still, you know, but I just don't like the feeling of it, and so I don't do it. I'm just gonna come right over here. We're coming front and center. We're coming front and center. Clayton J. Lloyd International Airport, my spiritual home. As I come over here and ding a $8 million airplane. I'll tell you a funny story about Pilatus. So toes on the brakes, mixture to idle, cut off, throttle is idle. Put our flaps down. Fuel pump off. We'll turn our lights off. Avionics master off. Turn the panel lights off here. Well, actually, panel lights don't really have to worry about. Mags coming off, and I'll show you why. Master and battery switch is coming off. And I think if I do that, oh whoops, yeah, they will have me step out of the airplane, which I don't want to do. Oh yeah, my plane doesn't have this thing. Yeah, see though, I don't want to do, but so at my airport, then there's in real life the nicest airplane, at least, well, not the nicest, but one of the nicest airplanes on the field is a Pilatus PC-12, and it's owned by the guy who owns the insurance company, if that tells you anything about insurance companies. Anyhow, Anguila is looking absolutely stunning. I am truly enjoying this airplane, the Coronado Dakota. I mean, truly enjoying this airplane. And the driver seems perfectly fine. There was maybe one or two, at most, two hesitations that I saw during the flight. Could be driver related, might not be. One of them was coming over the top of the field here in Anguilla, and sometimes when a scenery is coming in like that, it can have a little bit of a stutter. But yeah, the driver looks fantastic. What an enjoyable flight that was for me. I hope it was for you as well. And any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to put them in the comments section below. I hope everybody's doing well, and we'll talk soon.